you can tell what a delight it is for me to teach Golda and to enjoy this beautiful family and friends. And I am incredibly proud of her. How many of you have actually done your very own recital, like of some length? Anybody out there other than Mom?
Most stressful day of my life.
Unless you have done this, you cannot possibly appreciate the work that goes into being prepared with this many pieces, polished, working with your accompanist, Colleen, so marvelous. Wasn't she great?
Oh, yeah.
Let's give her And also, these numbers with family and with Alyssa, very beautifully done. I don't require a recital for their senior year, but I encourage it if they can possibly do it. And they say if you want something done well, give it to a busy person. Well, this is Golda. I can't imagine anybody busier, and yet somehow she did this amazingly well. So if ever there was someone who deserved a trophy. Thank you.
Golda got a trophy, a beautiful trophy, because her first federation, she was scared, and I told her that she would get a trophy. I lied. I didn't tell her it took at least 3 years to get that trophy. She finally did get the federation trophy, but this is just the icing on the cake. So I get tense talking in front of people, so I wrote it down.
Or you cry.
I do. I cry. It's not that I get tense. It's that I'm a ball baby. And I'm going to try not to do that. So I wrote a little thing, because I like to write things down. Scott's motioning me into the light.
There you go. Like he always does.
So true. Okay, so as a violinist first, then a parent, I naturally assumed my children would play violin. Smock dresses, tiny bow ties, and miniature violin cases were a disproportionate part of the reason I even had children in the first place. When I finally got my matched set of adorable little red-headed girls, one bigger, one smaller, I took them to violin lessons, Golda to play, Ruby to quietly observe. It didn't take long for Golda to decide violin was not for her. At a lesson, she flat out refused to pick up the instrument. Ever the dutiful younger sibling, 2-year-old Ruby picked up the violin for Golda and finished out her lesson. So the teacher's threat of, "Do you want your little sister to play it?" did not work. Actually, it did work, depending on how you look at it. Ruby would essentially do the same thing for Freestone years later on guitar. But back home, after Golda's fantastic refusal, I threw my hands up and said, "Well, what do you want to play then?" Came the defiant reply, "Flute." I clearly remember my first reaction. "How did you know about woodwinds?" At any given time, our house is littered with a dozen stringed instruments in various stages of disrepair, not to mention my violin shop. I felt a tiny bit betrayed that my young offspring had gone out and discovered woodwind instruments all on her own. The rebel was in first grade when she played in public for the first time. At a class talent show, she confidently announced, "I will now play Mary Had." She proceeded to play just the first 3 notes of Mary Had a Little Lamb.
I had my first lesson that week, and I was determined to play.
After that, we found a more serious teacher. And thus began years of Saturday commutes to Sugar House to study with Jane. Mostly it was just Scott and Golda, the flutist learning scales, exercises, breath control, and stress management, and Scott learning the satisfaction of one-on-one time with his oldest daughter. They logged hundreds of hours together in the car. In recent years, Golda has been fortunate to study with Cindy Henderson, a life coach as well as a music teacher. The magic she works in turning regular kids into musicians. You got through the part about Scott. It's beyond the understanding of most people. Thank you, Cindy, and thank you for introducing us to Colleen. It who has the gift of making everyone sound wonderful through her beautiful piano playing and accompaniment skills. And I can't tell you how easy Colleen makes it. I just wanted to give you a poinsettia.
Oh, thank you.
And a couple of cards, I believe. Oh, just one. I gave one to Colleen. And here's your flower, Colleen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Colleen lives in Salt Lake and drove all the way out here. And here's a card from Golda. Okay, now, Scott and I thought we would also give Golda a gift today. This recital has been the culmination of over 10 years of practicing. I thought it would be cute to present Golda with a token dollar for each day of her life that she has practiced, give or take a few. My calculator and I tallied it up, and the result was that Golda would receive the modest sum of $3,500 tonight. Next idea. Scott and I would give Golda 5 cents for each day she's practiced over her lifetime. And to make up for the difference in cash, we would also thank her for practicing. Golda has been a dutiful daughter, a conscientious musician, and an obedient and dedicated student. She is driven, she's hardworking, and she has made her parents very proud. So thank you, Golda. And I bet if you knew you were working for 5 cents an hour, you may not have been so diligent. I do appreciate it. And thank you all for coming. It means a lot to us that you're here. And I want to take a picture of you before you go upstairs and have a snack. So stay there. You're going to have to smile brightly because the lighting is kind of ambient over there. Sure, yeah. Just you have to hold this sensitive camera very still and tap it on the middle before you start. Alright, come and stand by. Cindy, as long as you're